I'm Julia Neuberger. I was a Lib Dem peer. I'm now a crossbench peer because I've moved to become senior rabbi at West London Synagogue. And what I do here mainly, apart from scrutinising individual bits of legislation, is serve on a select committee, the Science and Technology Committee of the House of Lords. We're not elected, we're appointed. But once we're here, although many of us are in parties, I now am not, but although many of us are, actually, because you're there and you're not trying to get elected or whatever, you have an independent spirit. And that's incredibly useful in scrutinising legislation and indeed quite often holding the government to account. It sounds so boring because actually quite often it is quite boring. I mean, going through legislation line by line, particularly if you're not a lawyer and you're not experienced at it, can be quite dull. However, there are times when you find something, or with a group of people you find something, and you think, we've got to pick this one up, either because the government hasn't thought it through and whatever it is won't work in practical terms, or because actually it's offensive in some way or other. Quite early in my time, actually it was terrifying, we had the human tissue bill, and the government, in the wake of the Alder-Hey scandal with children's organs being kept, wanted to say that no healthcare authority could keep any small amount of, say, blood. If you had a blood test, the rest of the blood had to be thrown away, when it's incredibly useful for people to practice on and learn on and work on and whatever, anonymised. And one of the things we did was we held the government to account about that, and we forced them to abandon the idea that all extra blood, anonymised, had to be thrown away, and it could be used by students and it could be used for general research. 1964. Why was it? Because my father was he was a civil servant, so he wasn't allowed to be publicly involved, but my father was very involved, and that was the first time I ever went canvassing. I was 14 at the time. I remember going canvassing in rather a wealthy area of Hampstead for the Labour Party in those days, and being rather surprised that everybody saying, "You must be joking" to me. But that was the first election I remember.